third grade worksheet lesson 5. Find the difference and estimate to check. Number 1. 574 minus 412. Start with the ones place, so 4 minus 2 is 2. 7 minus 1 is 6. And 5 minus 4 is 1. To check our answer, we have to round both of these numbers to the hundreds place. So 574 rounds up to 600. Sorry about that. And 412 rounds down to 400. And when we subtract these two numbers, the result should be close to our original answer. So it becomes 200. And if it's close, that means our answer should be right. Number 2, 891 minus 86. 1 minus 6. Well, 1 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow a 10 from the next place. So 9 minus 1 is 8. And since we borrowed a 10, we have to add 10 to 1. So it becomes an 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. 8 minus 8 is 0. And 8 minus nothing is 8. We have to check our answer again. So 891 rounds up to 900. And 86 rounds up to 100. Subtract those. 900 minus 100 is 800. And our answer is close. Number 3. 9.63 minus 4.05. Remember, when you're subtracting or adding decimals, the decimal point is aligned like this. 3 minus 5, 3 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. 6 minus 1 is 5. 3 plus 10 is 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. 5 minus 0 is 5. Bring down the decimal point. And 9 minus 4 is 5. Now to check our answer, we have to round to the nearest ones. So 9.63 rounds up to 10. And 4.05 rounds down to 4. 10 minus 4 is 6. And 6 is close to our answer, so it should be correct. Find the difference and estimate to check. So now we're dealing with bigger numbers. Number 1. 2,624 minus 1,562. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus 6 is not big enough, so we have to borrow a 10 from the next place. It becomes a 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. 5 minus 5 is 0. And 2 minus 1 is 1. Now we can round to the hundreds to check this answer again. So 2,624 rounds down to 2,600. 1,562 rounds up to 1,600. Subtract these two. 0 minus 0 is 0. This becomes 0. 6 minus 6 is 0. And 2 minus 1 is 1. And our answers are close, so it should be correct. Number 2. 6,102 minus 581. 2 minus 1 is 1. 0 minus 8, 0 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. This becomes a 10. And 10 minus 8 is 2. 0 minus 5, again, 0 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. Cross the 0 and back becomes a 10. Or you could just write a 1 in front of the 0. So 10 minus 5 is 5. And 5 minus nothing is 5. We have to check our answer again. So 6,102 rounds down to 6,100. And 581 rounds up to 600. This comes to 0, 0. 1 minus 6, 1 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. 11 minus 6 is 5. And 5 minus nothing is 5. And since our answers are close, it should be correct. Number 3. 12.51 minus 9.92. Now the decimals are already aligned for you, so you don't have to do anything right now. 1 minus 2, 1 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. 11 minus 2 is 9. 4 minus 9, we have to borrow 10 again. You can put 14 above, or you could place a 1. 14 minus 9 is 5. Bring down the decimal point. 1 minus 9, 1 is big enough. This becomes a 0, and this becomes an 11. So, like that. 11 minus 9 is 2. Now, to check our answer, we have to round these numbers to the nearest ones. So 12.51 would round up to 13, because the 10th place, this place right here, it's a 5. And if it's a 5 or greater, then it has to round up to the next place. So it has to become a 13. 9.92 rounds up to 10. When we subtract these two, it becomes a 3. And 3 is close to our actual answer, so it should be correct. Part 2. Let's do number 4. 5,940 minus 5,940. Now we subtract these, we should get 0, 0, 0, 0. So our answer is just 0. And if you want to check this, you can round it to the nearest hundreds again. So 5,900 minus 5,900. But that's also obviously 0. So you might not even need to do that. Number 5. 3,741 minus 3,211. 1 minus 1 is 0. 4 minus 1 is 3. 7 minus 2 is 5. And 3 minus 3 is 0, so we put nothing. Now we have to check our answer. 3,741 rounds down to 3,700. And 3,211 rounds down to 3,200. So our answer is going to be 0, 0, 0. 7 minus 2 is 5. 3 minus 3 is nothing. So our rounded answer, our estimation, is 500. And that's close to our actual answer, so it should be correct. Number 6. 112.78 minus 32.31. 8 minus 1 is 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. Bring down the decimal point. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 3, 1 is big enough, so we have to borrow a 10. So comes 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. So our answer is 80.47. Check our answers. We can round to the tenths. So 112.78, that would round to 110. Then 32.31 would round down to 30. 0 minus 0 is 0. 1 minus 3, 1 is big enough, so we have to borrow 10. 11 minus 3 is 8. And since 80 is close to our actual answer, it should be correct. Moving on to the word problems. Number 1. Tom saved $5,672 in his bank account. He bought a new laptop for $2,849. How much money does Tom have left in his bank account? So he originally had $5,672, and we have to subtract $2,849 from that. So 2 minus 9, that isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. 12 minus 9 is 3. 6 minus 4 is 2. 6 minus 8, 6 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. 16 minus 8 is 8. And 4 minus 2 is 2. So Tom has $2,823 left. Number 2. A school ordered 3,215 books for the library. After a year, 1,742 books were borrowed by students. How many books are left in the library? So they started off with 3,215 books. And you have to subtract 1,742. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 4, 1 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. 11 minus 4 is 7. 1 minus 7, 1 isn't big enough, so we have to borrow 10. This becomes an 11. 11 minus 7 is 4. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So the library has 1,473 books left.